Greetings, Algo Artisans. Another day in the charts. Today's show is Bitcoin at 72K within 48 hours, possibly. We also have some live chart analysis of PEPE, Fetch, Render, and BONK. So let's get into it right now. So to look at Bitcoin, it is bullish. It's bullish on all time frames. And if I were to take a quick look at the algos, which would probably cause most people's eyes to cross because the data looks like this, I could tell you that that Bitcoin is bullish on pretty much all time high time frames. And if you look at the price action, we have Bitcoin rejected very, very strongly right here off the all-time high, like we talked about, went down almost 15% and came right back up in a V-shaped recovery, which is, a sign of strength. Essentially, this looks like a liquidity grab. That's pretty much what that makes that look like. And it is now consolidating below resistance, below all-time high, and that usually means price will go up. Now, of course, there is liquidity down below. This was as of this morning, so we are going to take another look at the liquidity here on Kingfisher.io. For the moment here, though, there's a lot of liquidity sitting at 64,300, which is pretty much where I have that marked out on the chart, from 63.7 to about, say, 64.7. So we'll go back to the chart here, and we'll adjust this just a little bit, the new liquidity here. So price could easily go down to grab this, but in the meantime, even if it does, I do expect price to come up. And given the trajectory, given everything on the charts, it wouldn't surprise me to see Bitcoin maybe play around for a few days. I think 48 hours is a reasonable time, but anything really can happen. It could be 48 days. I mean, look, the reality is that I think it could go like this and make its way up to about 72,000. It very easily could come down here first. It could do any number of things, but I do expect Bitcoin to be bullish. Now, if there is a significant pullback, we will, of course, reassess. Now, I always have two separate bags. I have a trading bag and I have a holding bag. What I mean by bag is I mean a portfolio. And so there's Bitcoin, and most of my crypto I barely ever touch. I bought it either years ago or months ago or whatever, and I don't sell it. And then I have another account, and I do work with that for short-term trades, right? So we'll see how that goes. And if price goes lower than I thought, that is not a problem. I'm pretty confident that unless there is some kind of recession or a traditional finance problem, that Bitcoin will continue to be bullish. And if you want to know why a lot of that is, we can look at yesterday's show that I did that explains it, okay? And I'll go ahead and link to that right here in this show. Okay, well, let's move on to PEPE. PEPE is doing great. Feed the Gorilla, my business partner, actually went pretty heavy into PEPE. He got some word. This is not any kind of insider information. It's nothing privileged or nothing illegal to talk about, but we just learned that there are some very large players interested in PEPE. And you can see at the bottom here, I have marked out a very, very long-term range going back to the beginning. Well, not very long-term, but quite long-term, going back several months to last year, where price pretty much stayed in this, for this bear market, stayed more or less below this 180, 170 mark, and really consolidated for a long period of time. And that is when the Gorilla bought was last year. And of course, now it has paid off as PEPE rocketed just starting a few days ago, like a week ago, from 150 all the way up to over 800, really to about 850. So you're looking at a times 5 or 6, something along those lines. Beautiful, beautiful move. Now, what is it going to do next? Now, PEPE does have a considerable history, but I wouldn't look too far back because this market has changed so much. I would merely do some Fibonacci extensions, and were I to do that, I would get some targets up at around 1,000. I would actually look just below 1,000, because if you look here, the Fibonacci extensions are going to be near some round numbers. 1272 is going to be at 1,010, so I would actually take some profit down at, say, 990 to front run that 1,000. The 1.618 is just below 1,200, so I probably would take right there at about 1,190, which is where that is. Now, again, this coin could go 100 times higher. I mean, there's really not a way to know how high this would go. It's a meme coin, although I do understand that there might be some things behind it. All in all, these meme coins tend to be just speculation gambling, which most crypto really is, to be honest. So in this case, I mean, this could go up 10 times, 1,100 times. You don't know what it's going to do. But if I were simply trading it as opposed to buying and holding it, I would be looking to take some profit around 990 and 1190. That's what I'm looking at for the short term. Now let's look at a better, not better, but a more established token that's actually has some things behind it. It's one of the AI tokens, Fetch.ai. It's been around for a while. It's been around since last cycle, and it did really, really well last cycle. Pretty solid coin and has done great. It did take its move down along with Bitcoin and everything else, on Tuesday when that big move happened. But ever since then, it has rocketed up, and it went from its low, where it grabbed liquidity down here, and from its low that was at 124 all the way up to 286. This is better than a ×2 just from a few days ago. So anybody holding Fetch basically doubled their money, more or less. If they got it down at this level, like say they bought it before the 27th of February, I mean, it really has done well if you take it all the way back to February when the price was down at 50 cents, and now it is 5 times that. So that's beautiful from February. And that's, AI tokens have done that. I know PAAL fits into that category of ×5, ×6. I'm going to see right now, just based on a Fibonacci extension of the prior move, to see if we are approaching, it pretty much is at a place where it is going to stop. You doing a Fibonacci extension on this current impulse is going to be tricky because of that big move down. We will do it. I wouldn't focus on these, but I will put these here for now. What I would do with this right now, this is essentially in FOMO, and unless there's something I'm missing here, it might be in price discovery, right? So if that's the case, unless there's an all-time high before the prior cycle, it's highly unlikely. What we can do is attach our Fibonacci extension, and then we can look for a pullback, right? Because I doubt, this could keep going, anything can happen, but I really doubt that Fetch is going to just continue like this. I imagine it'll pull back at some point. So I'll look for a pullback, and then I would reassess the market at that time. Okay, so there's not a lot I would do with Fetch right now. It is in complete FOMO mode, and that's it for me on Fetch. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, though, because obviously it's doing really well. It's part of the AI group, and it actually is a late bloomer in AI. It didn't really hit until early February, so it has been going up for a while. But on this high time frame, that's FOMO. I'm not going to mess with that. But I would look for a pullback to this prior high. I'd look for a pullback to maybe like $2 ideally. But again, that might not happen. It just simply might not happen. So got to just really be careful with that. A true pullback would take a price down to about 120, the prior cycle high. But at this point, I think we've already seen that on a lower time frame. Almost this blue wick right here did come back down. The second wick here to the end came back down to like 127, and some of this price action in here filled that up. So we might not see a pullback that far, but I do believe that if price stops going up, then the $2 mark is kind of a decent place to look for longs. But again, I'm going to keep an eye on that. Let's look at Render. Over the past year, it's actually bucked the trend with a lot of coins, and Render is killing it. Let's go ahead to a lower time frame, and Render is absolutely killing it. It has gone up since Tuesday. It went down with Bitcoin and has essentially doubled in price since then. So it's really doing well. Where would I go with Render? I would do, again, there is a slight distortion to this Fibonacci target, so I would want to look back through time for some stronger targets. Going long now, I think, is okay. You'd have to find a way to choose an appropriate stop loss, but I would look at targets just based on Fibonacci around 11.5 and around $13. That's where I would look if I were simply trading. Of course, the only issue is that it's on such a strong move up right now that if the market does take a tumble, then it could take Render with it. However, I do believe that Bitcoin will stay stable for this amount of time, so I think we'll be okay. Again, I'm already in Render. I'm not really, this is a buy and hold for me, but I would wait for a pullback, much like we saw right here, and maybe take a long at that time. And the last coin for today is going to be BONK, which BONK was bonkers. I believe that's part of the Ordinals group, and it went crazy back in February. So starting in February 24, BONK went from 1214 all the way up to, I think that's going to be good ×4. And I do believe BONK actually had a really good, quite a few major moves last year, like from, 5 zeros and a 9 all the way up to 4 zeros and an 18. So, last year BONK was bonkers, and then this year it really, again, continues to do well. So let's take a look at what might happen. Now, BONK has retraced, and it's retraced solidly, but here's the thing about it. I think BONK might have seen its day. Now, it could, be grabbing liquidity, getting ready to go again. It just depends on how how many BONK fanboys are out there, right? And how well the market is doing. If the fanboys are strong and if the rest of the crypto market is strong, BONK could catch fire, but it's just a question of how many bag holders are up there. You know, are the bag holders going to sell into any move up? So far they have. So far the people who bought way up here were selling into here and selling into here, right? So we have to be careful in that BONK has seen a lot of action and there are a lot of bag holders and there are other coins that have the attention right now. So I would be careful with BONK, but if I were to look at it from an Elliott wave standpoint, this is a pretty good Elliott wave. Wave 5 was huge if this was Elliott, and we do have what appears to be an ABC correction, and that makes sense as far as how early this was on the pop off. So this could be seeing in the middle of an ABC correction, which would put it down roughly in this area. I do think some of them, I think it's a little distorted to strictly follow Elliott wave. In particular, this ABC correction is a pretty heavy distortion, but at the same time, price could stop anywhere in this area between, say, 18 and 24 if it were following Elliott wave. So I would wait for price to really kind of calm down, gather some steam, and then I'd look at BONK again in the future. All right, good. Well, I hope this helps. Strictly a charting day, and we can teach you all how to do these things. I mean, this is some pretty basic price action using some older tools. We actually help people build trading algorithms. They can trade old-fashioned or they can have it hard-coded, whichever they prefer. We're over at algofactory.tech. Come on over, trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you on the next one.